guys, Terry Carter here. Sometime in the early 90s, I built a web page called the Treasure Hunter's Hideout, and on there I had a story about the sun god, which is a uniquely carved sun with a face also carved in it. I'll have to do a story about it sometime because there's some interesting things that went on about this sun god. Anyways, I had a guy contact me, said he had some interesting information to tell me about the sun god, and asked me if I'd meet him up there at the sun god. So I did. I met him up to the sun god, and he told me the story how he married a Navajo girl, and that this Navajo girl, her grandfather was the medicine man for their clan, and he really did not like his granddaughter marrying a white guy, and so he did not talk to him really or like him or associate with him at all for a lot of years. But after a lot of years, he finally warmed up to him and decided maybe this white guy was okay. And I wish I could remember his name, but I can't. Anyways, he was telling me that when the grandfather finally warmed up to him, he told him a couple stories that had been passed down to him. And one was about the sun god there, and I'll have to tell that story later. But this story, he told me, is he told them that the Navajos brought two treasures, and one of them, they took it to the mountains east of Provo, Utah, and hid it in a cave where a river ran through it. Well, it just so happened that I'd done a lot of exploring, and I knew a cave where a river ran through it. It was a small opening. You had to get in the water, and I didn't think really anything was there, so I never ever checked it out. But as soon as he told me about this story of the Navajos bringing a treasure and hiding there, I grabbed a friend of mine, Ben Probst, and we went up to this area, and we went in. And you had to crawl through this water to get in. It was a small opening. You had to crawl through the water to get in it, get all wet. But once you got in it, it climbed up out of the water, and it opened up into a big cavern where you could walk in it, stand up easily, walk in it. And I could see that it wasn't a cave at all. It was a mine. So this mine had a small entrance. There was really no dump in the front of it, so it kind of looked like a Spanish mine. Could have been a Spanish mine to me. Anyways, it didn't go very far. We went in a little ways, and there was a turn to the right, and we went to the right, and it just dead-ended. So we went back out and kept going straight. And when we got back straight, there was a hole in the middle of the floor, and you could see that there was a tunnel down there, but it was clear full of water, and we could hear water dripping. There was no way getting in this tunnel the way it was because it was clear full of water. There was only a couple inches from the water to the ceiling. So me and Ben tried to figure out the best way how we was going to get into there to check it and see. We figured where this water was dripping, we could hear this water dripping. We figured there had to be a big room back there, and we figured, well, that's where this Navajo treasure is. So we was going to get some scuba tanks and get in there, but then the tunnel was too narrow for that. So finally, Ben went and rented a generator and a pump and 200 feet of 2-inch hose. And so where this was at was in the foothills where people could see us, and we didn't want people seeing what we was doing. So we went at nighttime, and the time we picked, it was in the middle of the winter, and it was cold the night we picked. It was a cold night. We backpacked, we hiked everything up there, carried everything up there, turned on the generator, got the pump in there, started pumping out the water. It took a couple hours to get all the water pumped out, but once we got all the water pumped out, Ben was the first one down into the tunnel. He jumped down in there and explored it, and he said there was nothing in. So then I went down, and it was just a small, only you had to hunch over, and you couldn't hold your arms out. It was only like 2 feet wide. Anyways, down to the one end of it, if you went to the left, it went down there, and it looked like it had caved in. So it looked like at one time it had gone farther, but it had caved in. But then going back to the right, went down, and it had caved in. But sticking out of the ground near where it caved in, there was 2 wooden poles sticking out of it, like it was a chicken ladder, like it went down at one time. But because of all the mud and the silt, it had all filled in. So we was discouraged because it didn't open up into a water trap room where all the Navajo treasure was, so we packed up and left. And so when we went out, it was so cold outside, and now we're soaking wet. But by the time we got almost to our trucks, man, our pants had frozen solid. Everything was frozen solid. It was cold. Well, I put this story on the internet on my website about this water trap mine, and years later, some kids found it, and this is a tragedy, but there's a lesson to be learned here. You know, you need to make sure that you're safe. You need to do it the right way. Like me and Ben, we pumped the water out. We thought about it. We thought about getting scuba tanks. These college kids went in there, and they jumped down in that tunnel with the water, 3 of them, and I don't know if they held their breath or what, but the bottom line is they died. And this is what the Deseret Morning News reported on it. It says, the body of 4 hikers trapped in a small cave just south of the Y on Y Mountain were found Thursday morning after rescue crews pumped out enough icy water to safely enter the cave and search. 3 of the bodies were found around 10:45 a.m. in the second of 2 caverns, according to Karen Main, Public Information Officer for the Provo Police Department. The first body, that of a 19-year-old woman, was found almost an hour earlier. She had been trapped in a small underwater tunnel leading to the second cave. The 4 hikers ranged in age from 19 to 28. The identities of the victims are being held pending notification of next of kin. Rescuers were unsure whether the hikers died from drowning or lack of oxygen. A medical examiner was on the scene all morning and was investigating. A group of 5 hikers started out early Thursday morning, entering the cave around 4:30 a.m. Maine said all but one of the hikers entered one at a time through a narrow tunnel and came into a large opening. From that opening, the hikers had to go underwater through a small narrow tunnel to get to the second cave. Rescue crews had to force oxygen into the second cave and pump water out of it before they could enter. Steve Hundley, the hiker who remained outside the cave, first notified police around 6:30 a.m. when his friends did not return. Hundley, age 20, of Provo, said he would have also entered the cave but didn't because he had to go to work. He said he had been in the cave a few times before and said the water was extremely cold. You know, if these guys would have taken the time to ensure their safety, thought about what they was going to do, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. But the reason I mentioned this story, because I mentioned it on the last video I just did on the underwater drone. This underwater drone would have been perfect for this type of exploration. We wouldn't have had to hike a generator up there, a pump up there, all that hose up there, and it would have made it a lot nicer. So modern technology, man, has really helped us out a lot. There's a lot of cool gadgets out there so that we don't have to do what we used to do. But you know, the sad thing is again, these kids not taking safety into their own hands. You know, I wanted to go back and try and excavate, you know, that mud silt dirt out of that hole where the chicken ladder came up, but I never got to it. And when these kids got killed, they went in and they cemented the whole thing shut. So we'll never ever know what went down in there. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.